Hey, what's going on? Welcome along to episode 85 of the Strategy and Conversions podcast. I'm Jamie Davies, and as always, I'm joined by Mr. Mark Tanner.
Hi, everybody.
Now, Mark, we've been talking about a few different topics to talk about on the podcast today. We have a whole bunch that we will obviously get through in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
But one that we kind of looked at was all around kind of operational effectiveness.
Yeah.
And this is part of the scope framework that we have. So with scope, each of those letters represent a part within business that every successful business should be focusing on, right? And a lot of these kind of points are things that people do gloss over. And the one around operational effectiveness is probably the one which is the least sexiest, right?
Yeah, I think so, isn't it? I mean, that obviously that's the O in scope. Yeah, it's kind of it's a kind of for a lot of people, I think it's a bit of a chore. And there's not many people who get really excited about how to make their operations more effective, although they should do. But it's kind of that it's one of those low priority things. You've got you've done your strategic planning, and you're looking at what you've got from a point of view of the creating momentum. So you've got your offers out there. That's the kind of exciting bit. And then optimizing my processes. I'll look at that later. And it's kind of it's all your effort goes into the initial selling and trying to get your products and everything going. And that it's a piece of efficiency which gets put back on a bit of a back burner for a lot of people and a lot of businesses, and because no one talks about it, and because it's not ever to be made very sexy to talk about, I guess.
Yeah, so when we're looking at operational effectiveness, we're kind of getting into the realm here then of we're looking at kind of staff. We're looking at the people that you have within the business, whether that's kind of director level, whether it's even mentor sort of level, board of directors, that sort of stuff, that down to even people that you may outsource to.
Yeah,
right? So there's that kind of level there. So this is the way how we put scope together also is that it does hit different levels, right? So if you're a real small business, there's a couple of you in there, maybe you're on your own, it works. If you're a bigger business and there's, tens, even hundreds of you, it's still the same framework, right? We still have to get this right. So when we're looking at the kind of people within there, we're looking at the numbers also. We're looking about, yourself as well. Are you happy with, the way things are going and stuff like that? Does it all kind of match up to what you're trying to do? Or is it a headache? That's the thing. Coming back to like the numbers also, just looking at like the important numbers, looking at things that are taking too long. Is it actually costing you more money because it's taking too long to do? Are you sidelines because you're not actually taking, the steps to get in? And we do this within our Momentum Builder program. When people come in, look, we have a set of questions and we kind of say, look, go through these questions and just answer them, because what we want to do is answer them again in 3 months, 6 months time. And we want to see what the difference is and how it is. So Mark, I know we have the questions. Do you want to kind of run through?
Yeah. So
run through the questions one by one, or do you want to do it all together?
I can do one by one.
Okay,
I think
cool.
because I think and then we can look at a couple that really want to focus in on, because I think they are really important. But we have 5 questions for each of these parts of the framework, and the first for the operational effectiveness. The first question we have is how do you nurture your existing customers? So obviously the big emphasis is on there. It doesn't cost you anything to get them because they're already your customers. So how do you nurture your existing customers? So that's question 1. Question 2, and this is one that I love asking people because it really does catch them out, and that is, what tasks are taking too long in your business? Now that could be tasks, if you're at the very early stage, it could be tasks that you do, it could be tasks that you're delegating to a team of staff, or it could be a task that you're delegating to be outsourced. But when you're measuring, it's things you find things that are taking too long. You think, oh, this is endless. Why is it taking too long? And when you ask yourself the question why, then that's when you start to really start thinking about the causes of that. So that's question 2. And then question three is what tasks do you delegate? And again, that depends on where you are in business. In some cases, you may not have the money, you may not be able to delegate. But in some cases, people would say to you, well, it's costing you not to, not, you know, how can you afford not to delegate that? And I'm thinking about things like bookkeeping and some of the more mundane stuff, but it may be that you love bookkeeping. Um, but the other question, the other kind of sub question that comes to that is, yeah, what tasks do you delegate? And if you say, well, none, you say, well, why not? Um, what is stopping you delegating them? Because it's going to free up your time. So that's one we'll come on to again. And question four, and this is kind of where you got to really soul search about your businesses. Where do you really need help in your business? It's admitting that you can't do everything, and you haven't got the skill set to do everything. So look at yourself and look at your business and look at it really as if you're, you know, that kind of the 30,000 foot down. You're looking on your businesses. Where can you see in your business that it really needs help? And it's understanding that, because that helps you to then stop your business being so clunky and helping you to actually to create more efficiency in that, or more effectiveness in that little piece of business that where it's all very bit confusing. And the fifth question, and this is what I urge people to do, is to create your business structure. So what is your business structure? Now, for large companies, they have quite a set business structure. There's no reason why when you start out in your business life, or even if you're still quite a small business, that you shouldn't have a similar business structure. It means that maybe one person or two person are doing lots of different jobs. But the point is, but when you start having your business structure, you can then see, once you start creating a bit of income and a bit of profit, where the gaps are and what needs plugging. And maybe you think, I really now need to start getting an operational manager, because I need them to look at all this stuff that at the moment I'm finding I'm not having time for. Or it could be that I really need a finance manager, or or just a finance person to say, look, do my bookkeeping, get me some decent financial reports at the end of the month, so I can find out what's going on in my business. And again, that business structure, there are big companies with a business structure, and they'll even have holes. They'll even have areas they think, right, we really need some more help in the sales team, for example. It's not gelling together, or they're getting bogged down with admin, and maybe we need a sales admin person. So even the larger companies it's still going to be relevant to them. So all these questions are relevant to whatever size company you are.
I mean, these questions, they're phenomenal, aren't they? I mean, when you've just gone through them, like I'm listening along. Now, I created them, you know, with you, right? But even when you're saying them, I'm like, wow, like that's a great question, right?
Yeah.
Because it is some of the stuff that we overlook so much,
yeah,
in business, right? And you know, we've been in where we spoke with people, we ask one of these questions, and it's just like it's a plain look on their face. You just like, you know, there's no real answer, and it's like you know, if you're listening along and you're kind of just like, look, I've got no idea what you guys are talking about. Look, you're not alone, right? This is what happened. This is what I said. Look, it doesn't matter what level of business you're at. This framework is to go through to. I think I said like to create a successful business. I mean, we class it as a professional business, right?
Yeah.
We look at, look, you create a professional business then that can run. So it doesn't matter then how you grow, how you scale. It comes back that it can actually just it can grow and scale because you've got the right foundations in place. That's the main part. Now, with those kind of questions, I think you can see why I said that this part is the kind of unsexy part, right?
Yeah.
When we look at scope, we look at the strategic planning. So this is great. We're kind of thrashing around ideas, and we're looking at, you know, making millions, whatever it is, and kind of moving forward. We get into creating momentum, and we're looking at our offer. We're looking at who we're going after. We're looking at why they would want to come to us, how they're going to come to us, all this kind of stuff. And then we get into operational effectiveness, and we're kind of just like, you know, looking at stuff. We're kind of going, okay, nurturing clients, costings, like, you know, are things taking too long? All this kind of stuff. But if we nail this part, when we kind of move on, and it makes things so much easier, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that first question, how do you nurture existing, customers? Okay. So, I mean, the stats are out there, and it costs 3 times as much, 3-4 times as much to get a new customer in as an existing customer. And so why, I'm not saying that businesses don't need new customers. Of course we do. We're always trying to do that. But a lot of people that we've spoken to in the past, and I know I've been there, and I'm sure it may be the same for you when we were in sort of separate businesses, is that we forget your existing customers. You don't keep in touch with them. Just an email a month. How you doing? How's it going? Did you know that we do this now? You don't even have to sell to existing customers because existing customers have bought from you in the past, and in most cases they'll be quite satisfied, maybe more so, with what they bought, and they're eager to speak to you for more help. And so you're constantly trying to get new customers and telling them, oh, we can do this and we could do that. And the existing customers say, I didn't know you did that. If I'd known that you had this added piece onto your business, I would have taken you up on it. And they almost it's almost kind of like, if you don't tell them you do it, they get a bit offended. They say, I'm your customer. Why haven't you told me you do this? So it's so easy to nurture your existing customers and get extra business from them. And what I mean by that is not ringing them out and saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to get some more business from you. It's just they might have a problem that you can solve with something else that you put out there. And they say, I'm really struggling with getting this done. And all you've done is ask the question, how are things going? And you might get the glib, yeah, okay, or you might get the answer, well, actually, yeah, they're okay, but I'm having this problem. And you can say, oh, I've got something for that. We can do this. And then, oh, can you? Brilliant. And you've made another sale without very little effort, simply because you've kept in touch with them. So many people ignore them. And one of the things that I see all the time, I'm not sure if it's getting any better now, but when banks especially or savings plans are offering for new customers get this discount and get the existing customers, they're not even mentioned. I think, wow, how short-sighted is that?
I mean, you see that all the time with things like Virgin Media and Sky and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Adverts on TV, new customers only, right? Yeah. It's an amazing deal and stuff like that, and it's like, well, why? Why would you not value your customer? And, and it's like, okay, look, all this kind of market sharing, you think all that money of running the ads and everything like that. Well, if you just, put a good deal to your existing customers, they're probably going to take more. They're probably going to take it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it doesn't go that way. It is really interesting. I think sometimes, like, a few things here, like, I think some companies sometimes think that, well, their customers just know what they do, and when they're ready, they'll just come to them anyway. And it's like, that rarely happens in business. And it rarely happens in marketing, sales, all this kind of stuff, is that if someone is even having a problem, they're not necessarily happy to be vocal about it and come to you and say, I'm having this problem. But if you put something in front of them that says, we offer this solution, and they read it and they're like, this is the exact problem that I'm having, it makes sense now to go ahead. It's like, they will do that. That will work 9 times out of 10. Compared to someone just waiting around to get in touch when it's ready for them. Yeah. And also, like, I think sometimes people might think it's a bit salesy and stuff like that to kind of sell people more and stuff. But it's like, I can remember it being put, I think I listened to something, it was like Jay Abraham, who's like kind of like a business kind of guru and stuff like that. And he says that if you sold someone a bottle of water, right? That transaction's done, everything like that, they're happy and everything, right? But if you know that they need 6 bottles of water a day, you've actually done a disservice to them by only selling them one.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's that kind of thing sometimes. I mean, we did a whole episode once, didn't we, where we spoke about, like, if someone was going camping and they come in to get a tent and you did, you said to them, well, look, you're going to need X, Y, Z as well and stuff like this. You're actually creating a better experience for them than if you just sell them the tent and say, best of luck with that.
Exactly.
If you come back if you want any more. It's like, well, when they're up on the mountains, they're not coming back, right?
Yeah.
They can't come back at that time. So it's like you give them all the stuff to begin with. But that stuff there, man, I would probably say, like, countless times over the years, speaking with clients, speaking with just contacts in general, and you kind of look at something and they're like, oh yeah, doing more on this, doing more on that, all front end to get new customers in. When you just go, well, look, the customers there, and I'll give you a great example here, right? Someone in the financial space, they basically said, oh, do you know what? Like, lately, over the past year, I've been doing so much more of product B compared to product A, where a few years ago everyone would take product A and not product B, right? Now people can have both, right? And there's a
Mm.
product C also, right? People can have all three at the same time. It's actually better for them to have all three at the same time. So, and he's like, oh, I've got to get more customers now for product B. It's like, well, why don't you just go back to the people that purchased product A and ask them if they want to purchase
Yeah,
product B now? And it's like, oh,
yeah,
well, I'm not too sure. I don't want to be too salesy and that. And it's like, well, everyone now is taking product B because it's a better product at this time. It offers more. Why would you not go back to them and say, look, it's not like they're going to stop paying or anything on product A.
no.
That's been done and dusted. They're not paying anymore. But
Mm.
now they could come through and you could double your income this month just by going back to your customers.
Yeah, and one thing I'd say there as well, you could double your income without any real extra cost.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that doubling your that piece of turnover there is without any extra cost is almost straight onto your profit. Um, but also the other thing I like to say about that is when people say, "Well, that's a bit sales," you're not. You're helping them. What you've got to get into your mind is that I'm not selling. I'm helping. So you say the phone call can be, "How are you doing? How can I help you? What is there? And is there anything more I can help you with?" Because straight away you take that word sales out of your mind, and it's just a conversation. Like we've always said, sales is just purely a conversation structured the right way, and the right way is how can I help you? Yeah, we've got this. I don't know if it would be. We've got this new product. Don't know if that would help you in any way. What do you think? Because what they're going to say, no, not maybe not at the moment, or oh, that's interesting to find out. But if you don't ask them and ask them in the way of helping them, then you're never going to know whether they need it or not.
And that's the thing also. I mean, even if they say no, right, you're still back front of mind so that when
Of
they do
course,
need
yeah,
you, they're going to come to you. They may mention you to other people. They even could become like a fan. They could see you on social media now and, kind of like a post and that because they've had that conversation with you recently. But that thing there that you just said, mate, I mean, that there is gold, right? That whole thing of, look, it's not salesy if you are genuine in
yeah,
helping them. It's
yeah,
like, it's only salesy if you're just trying to sell stuff to them for the sake of it.
yeah,
And that's the
exactly.
difference between you get the kind of the stigma attached with sales is that
Yeah,
people try and sell anything. It's like, well, if you
um,
actually trying to help someone,
yeah,
why wouldn't you? And that's the thing that I mean, this is the thing that we run through a lot when we're talking about the C within scope and we're looking at creating momentum. We look at the power of it, right? And it's like, look, if you are not 100% confident, and have that courage in talking to someone and saying, look, this can help you, then
mm,
what's the point? It's like if you have
exactly.
a product or service that you offer that will help change someone's life, will help get them the solution that they want, why would you not shout about from the rooftops?
Yeah, yeah. It's like, and people say them they when they go, use the analogy. If you go to a cracking restaurant that you've gone to the first time, you think, wow, that service was brilliant. The food was great quality. It wasn't too pricey. Everything about it, the ambience is really good. You're going to tell somebody. You're going to tell someone because you're so excited about it. And you loved it so much, you're going to say, I just went to this, you phone someone. I went to this restaurant yesterday. Perfect. You've got to go there. Now you've got to be that excited almost about your products. If you think that the product is really going to help people and just going to say, look, they've got this great product that we've spent a lot of time working on, and we really think is going to help you. What do you think? And again, it's that because once you start getting into this attitude of sales and start chasing the money, and you have a product that is kind of mediocre, or maybe not that you're not convinced in it, but you're trying to sell that product. You're chasing money, and once you start chasing money, you never get it. So the
Mm.
whole point is you're attracting here by asking people, can this help you now, or maybe it can help you in the future at some point. But do you think this would be of help to you? And as you said, that's a great point. You've put yourself back point of in their front of mind, and then, oh yeah, that was good. I don't get phone calls from my other suppliers. That's interesting getting a phone call from you. And yeah, maybe not now, but we're just about to take somebody on over the next couple of months, and we're going to need them trained up in something, or we're going to need this for them. We're going to need another workstation, for example, if you're an IT supplier. We're going to need some more furniture, that kind of stuff. So if you let them know that you've got it and you do it, Um, and it could be now. And as if we look back at the whole concept we have of the buyer's mountain, it may not be now. They may not be the top ready to buy now, but they could be sort of halfway at the mountain. And but now knowing that you do that kind of thing, they said, right, okay, I expect we'll be there in 1 month, 3, 6 months, whatever. I know I can come to you then because that's when I'm going to need it.
And that's it. And that's where we look at that kind of pipeline. Again,
Yeah.
the pipeline is what a lot of people just kind of look over, because
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of thinking, okay, look, lead generation, getting leads in, we're going to have those kind of sales phone calls and stuff. But not everyone's going to buy right now, are they?
No,
But you
no,
kind of want to
definitely.
bring people in and we talk about nurturing on the front end and we talk about, fortuners in the follow-ups. We did a whole kind of episode around that.
Yeah,
But the
yeah,
fortune
yeah.
in the follow-ups is exactly the same with your clients already, because like you said, you then like someone may not be ready right now, but now they, if you have that conversation with them and they say in a few months' time, well, you can start to address that differently then. You can follow up with them, in a way which you highlight how your services can help them with what it is that they're about to go through, or, giving them a few pointers that will help them in that kind of way moving forward. But you can also then just follow up with your clients in general anyway. So coming back to that one where I said about product B, people already taking product A and stuff like that. Well, you can always follow up then about product C. You can always
Exactly.
follow up about just something in general, that just it helps them kind of, put you front of mind again and think, yeah, that they're a nice person, they're trying to help me. So there's lots that you can do there. I think that whole kind of thing of, yeah, look, what are you doing with the clients that you already have? Like, if you don't have a plan in place, then you should definitely think about, putting one in place.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because that is, like we said, it's so cost effective to do as well because it takes a phone call and you can make a sale from the back of one phone call as opposed to the time and money invested um, in trying to get new customers. But we've gone over that. But yeah,
But massively, I think on that note though, right? I think it's just an exercise for anyone listening. Like, just do that on, to take a piece of paper and just look at the kind of time and money that you actually spend
yeah,
in chasing new customers,
yeah,
and then kind of
and
look
that
at it
neat,
then of go.
yeah, and that neatly brings us on to question two, doesn't it? Which I think is one of my favorite questions to get people to ask: what are the tasks that are taking too long in your business? And that's a class one. If you Because it could be where people say, I'm spending so much time on the phone to try and get new clients. And you
Mhm.
go back to that question and say, well, are you nurturing your existing ones? Perhaps, or are you using your existing ones to help you get more through referrals, for example? Yeah, there's a
Uh,
big effort there.
I,
But
I mean, massive, and look at it the other way also. Like, just is there really a need to do it in the first place? I mean,
yeah,
I mean, how many people do you see kind of go, right, okay, now I need to up my game on social media by creating a load of reels that I can put on TikTok? And it's like, okay, do you think that is going to bring you new customers?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
the stuff that you've got over here is actually working. That if you double
yeah,
down on it, you would get double the amount of customers, right? Or even
yeah,
triple the amount of customers. So
yeah.
does it even make sense to go and do something left field?
Yeah, that's right. That's true as well. But the wonderful thing for this question of what tasks are taking too long in your business is simply because a lot of business owners don't think about it. They just think, oh, I've got to do for example, oh, I've got to do my bookkeeping today. Oh, it's going to take me all day. Right. Do you really want it to, do you really want it to take up your day? Or do you think that somebody, and is question three about what tasks can you delegate? Or do you think there's somebody who could do it for a reasonable amount, who could do it in third of the time? Because this is something they do every day. When bookkeeping, you've got a backlog of stuff you've got to put in, you've got to do this and that, and you're dreading it. And you could get someone to maybe pay them a couple of hours, and all of a sudden it's all done for you. You think, wow, that's brilliant. Because it's often the case, and again, it's a lot of people speak to is what is taking too much time in your business, and and one of the things that I speak to, but speak about to some people is that if they're unsure, and you say, okay, well, as you go through your day, either take look at the time it's taking you, or estimate the things you do during the day. How long is that going to take? And can you take, say maybe you think something is going to be taking me 2 hours. Okay, how can I make that an hour and a half? What do I need to do, or what do I need to delegate, where I could cut that down either by being better at it myself or giving it to someone else. Yeah, giving it to someone else where they could take that shorter time, and you could concentrate then on something else that needs your attention because you've got the skill set. And it's there's an awful. I find quite a reluctance in a lot of businesses of whatever size to answer that question, because it's kind of admitting that they're not efficient, and people don't like admitting they're not efficient.
Yeah, I was going to say a pride thing to it is I think sometimes
Yeah,
people,
yeah,
they have that pride where they don't want to ask for help and stuff like that. Sometimes, kind of admitting that things are taking too long from you doing them is not that way. Or I think everyone has this in business where they are a bit reluctant to let go, right? Where
yeah, oh yeah,
it's kind of
yeah,
like, it's you kind of think, okay, someone may not be able to do it as well as you, and it's like, okay, look, that may be true, but if you had two people giving 70%, that's more than what you can do on your own, right?
mm.
So you have to look at it that way. And also, it's like, look, does it have to be to a certain level that you're actually doing it at? And like, I think for me, like again, over the years, I can remember one story where there was a person in kind of like a director kind of level, and that they would spend their time, a few days a week creating social media posts. And it's like when you actually looked at the social media posts, there wasn't anything special there. That's not like to sound bad or anything, but it's like what they were creating was nothing, more than what a random person could create for them. But they would spend all that time, and it would be, yeah, I need to do it because I'm the one within the business that knows this stuff. So I need to get out there. And it's like, well, the stuff that you're doing, it may be the best for the knowledge that you have, right? But it's not the best for a social element where people are interested when they're seeing it on social media. Nothing is making them jump to come and speak to you, and nothing is kind of making you go 10 levels above the kind of expert level in their eyes, maybe one level above. But there's no reason that you couldn't outsource this to someone else, right? To dedicate it to someone else. You can have you could put the parameters in place, and now it's taking you an hour rather than 3 days, and someone else is actually doing the bulk of the work, but you've instructed it in a way which is working that way. And then also another story is I can remember that there was someone who was sending out that say they had like a client bank. It wasn't even a client bank, it was just like a network of like say 500 people. And each month or each quarter or something like that, this person will send an email personally to each of them. And it's just like, well, when you actually calculate the hours, I can remember in the business, looking at it with the business owner and just going, you're spending out like say 40K or whatever it is on this person just to send emails. It's like you can spend £40, in an email service provider, a marketing system that can just send it out to all of them. You can then obviously, you can automate things in a way where when someone does click something, they've opened it, so the next email they get is something different. But you could even then still just spend a bit more time on the people that are going to, need more nurturing or are going to value kind of personal touch rather than everyone, because most people aren't even replying to the emails that you send out. So, why does it matter if it comes personally from you or comes through a system?
Yeah, absolutely right. The process. I mean, process optimization is the P in scope, but it kind of works hand in hand. I mean, but it's interesting you were saying about people who think they can think that they could do themselves. I was talking to a guy this morning who I'm doing some we're doing some writing for and promotion, and he wants to write to a particular target audience, and it's all about he's got a particular subject matter. He wants to write to a particular target audience, and I'm writing for him. So he said, yeah, we're going to send out some posts. So I'm putting these posts on, and I'm sending it to him for to have a look at this and see what you think. And normally with a lot of people that I work with or we work with this, a couple of tweaks here or there, and he's going through everything. No, I don't like it. No, I want to change that. I want to change this one. No, that's my ego's got nothing to do with it. I don't really care. I mean, it's not a problem. But then you say to him, well, okay, if you're changing, first of all, if you're changing everything, why don't you write them, not in a nasty way, but
Yeah.
why don't you write them yourselves? Because it seems crazy that you're delegating this. But secondly, is hang on, you're writing because you want to write and you want to read what you write in a certain way. I said, but your target audience is not you. Your target audience is somebody totally different. Do you think this is going to excite them the way you write? And it's didn't word it quite as bluntly as that, but it got him thinking. He phoned me again today. He said, "No, you're right. I'm thinking about what I want to put out there, and
Mm.
that's not necessarily what people want to read." So we've changed the things around a little bit, and he's sort of coming over to that point. Now, I'm not saying I'm totally right. Don't get me wrong, but the point is that this is stuff for LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, you can do all sorts of stats and find out what impressions those posts are getting, and the readership, and the posts I'm putting out there are getting more impressions and more engagement than his were. So I'm saying, well, the proof of the pudding, again, it comes down to the measurement, doesn't it? The proof of the pudding is in the numbers. If it hadn't been the case, I'd have said, okay, yeah, I'll follow your lead and I'll put in there. But I do pride myself on knowing, having a good getting into the psychology of what people
No,
want to read.
that's psychology. I mean, like you said, the psychology of the readers is one thing, but the psychology of the business owner or the people who are instrumental in running the business is a big thing. And we do this obviously in the S of scope, because when we get into the
Yeah,
strategic planning and stuff like that,
yeah,
all this stuff is broken down. So like you just said that, I mean, that is a key issue for a lot of business owners where they can't let go, or they want it to be in their kind of terms. They want it to be in their wording, in their tone and everything like that. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
but as the business grows, you realize that you're going to be taken back from, the front, the kind of front end of things.
yeah.
People aren't going to see you front line. You're now going to be moving back, because the goal really is that you want to be exiting the business, right?
Well, yeah,
You want to
really,
be
yeah,
taking the back seat. You don't want to be controlling everything. So you can't do everything in your turn, because people won't be dealing with you. They'll be dealing with
yeah,
someone else. And as much as you can put the right kind of vision and steps and everything in place for people to produce the same, it can't come from you. Now, you take we go on like a massive scale and take McDonald's for example, right? McDonald's now is the brand. Like the wording that you get is from the brand. It's not getting it from, I was gonna say Ronald McDonald, but the what's his name, Kroc, they kind of set up and stuff like that, and even the McDonald's brothers and stuff like that. It's not coming from them. It's coming from the brand. So as you kind of grow, it comes from the brand. So that whole kind of thing of like, yeah, okay, look, what's taking you too much time? Is it taking you too much time because you're being too personal about it?
yeah,
Rather than looking to kind of like go, okay, look, let's just no. And again, like when you were saying about the way it sounds and stuff like that, I'm not saying it this way, but can you get it done so you can bang it out there, or can you get it done so it's done? It's not perfect,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And move on to the next stage. Rather than trying to get everything so perfect in the beginning that it's taking so much time, that it isn't actually producing anything. And that's the big thing. Like, what's taking too much time? Look, could it be stuff that could be outsourced, but is it stuff that is
Yeah,
just taking time because, one, you don't know how to do it, you don't like doing it, you don't want to do it. How many times have we seen that? Whereas like, I've put that to one side because I don't want to phone that customer. I don't want to have
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
conversation. I don't
yeah.
want to do that piece of work because I don't enjoy it and stuff like that. It's being honest with yourself.
It is. And the final thing that you just mentioned there is it, are you trying to be too perfect when you're doing it? Because for many customers, they don't need 100% perfection. They need just 70% maybe, and the message that you're trying to put through. And often people get hung up. There's an awful lot of people I know in business, especially, but outside of business as well, who are I know people call it ADHD now, don't they? All sorts of different things, but they're perfectionists. It's that whole big problem that's been around for years of people trying to do everything perfectly, and often perfectly doesn't exist. That whole concept of perfect doesn't exist, because what you think is perfect is imperfect to someone else. And it's also the fact that it doesn't need. We have this. I don't know where this has come from. We have this desire that everything needs to be perfect. It doesn't. In fact, sometimes a little bit of chaos isn't a bad thing. It just kind of makes you seem more human rather than a machine. and I think there's a whole thing on that. I mean, I remember when I first started. I know we're labouring this point a little bit, but I remember when I first started doing videos. Oh, I went hours. I would write scripts and everything. I had to be perfect, and now I just bang them out, and with all the ums and well, and changing your mind and that kind of stuff, because it's me. That's how that's how I talk. That's how I react. I think as I'm talking, and sometimes I change it. I change the scope. I don't stand in front of a wall, and I don't talk in a quite a nice wavy voice, but never ever make any mistakes. That's not how I talk. So if I went into a room with people and I started talking like this, they would say, "Oh, that's not how you come across on video." But I, it's about being that authentic person, isn't it? It doesn't. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be you. That's the whole point.
Mate, I think real is a great word. Like, you just have to be real. Like,
yeah.
How many times have you heard kind of stories where it's like, oh, that's not how it seemed, when I met them or something like that. You take the whole kind of online dating thing, and it's like they didn't look like their picture. It's that kind of thing. It's like when people see you online and stuff like that all the time, you're all prim and proper and everything, and then they meet you in person. Maybe you're the type then to start swearing and stuff, right? It's like it doesn't match up. And we did a similar thing with this podcast, right? It's like from day one we just said, look, whatever happens, happens. Like if we mess up, if we have ums, if we have silence, whatever it is, we just let it roll. Because if we actually got into trying to do it perfectly and follow scripts and take out different bits with editing, we just wouldn't get on with it because we wouldn't enjoy it.
That's right. Yeah, because and again, it comes back to that question: what tasks are taking too long in your business? And it could be, oh well, I'm editing this, I'm editing that. Do you need to? Do you really need to be doing that? And again, I suppose that's the same thing as the perfection. Do you really need it to be that perfect, or can you just say, no, it's good enough. It's good enough to go out there. It's me. It's real, and it's good enough. And if people, you're not going to please everybody all the time. So people, I'm sure there are people who watch our podcast and probably think, nah, not really interested in that.
Yeah, these guys.
Exactly. It doesn't matter. But there are the people that we know of who look at it and say, oh, I love the whole way your podcast is very conversational and you're chatting away. We've been told that people love it. So we'll just carry on doing it. But we're not going to please everybody. And you can't please everybody, because if you've got all the customers that you thought you were going to get because you're trying to please everybody, you'd go bust because you couldn't handle it.
I can remember us sat in a boardroom with the company owner and the company director, and one of them would say, "Oh yeah, we want to do X, Y, Z," and the other one would say, "No, we don't. We want to do it A, B, C." Yeah. And it's like they didn't even know between them. It's like we're meant to be giving them direction and stuff on what they're trying to achieve, but they don't even know what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And I had it, a while back with an apprentice that they were creating social media posts, and they would need one of the directors to sign them off. Right now, there were 3 different directors. So if they sent them to one director, it would come back with, okay, we want these words changed and we want it this kind of way. If we went to the other one, it'd be like, oh yeah, make it a bit more chatty and stuff like that. It goes to another one. Oh, it needs to be like X, Y, Z for product knowledge and compliance reasons and all this kind of stuff, right? So it's like if you send it to all 3 of them, would change it in a different way. So you could send it to one, get it back, send it to the other, and they would change it still. Right? So it's like you couldn't please those 3. So it's like all that time that you're taking trying to be, oh, we need it this way, we need it that way. Well, when you put it out there, well, there's going to be different people that are seeing it that you can't please anyway. So what's the point? What's the point in wasting the time on it? But I think that whole kind of delegation part, moving on to that, you hit the nail on the head with this guy, right? Where you said, well, what's the point in delegating it if you're just going to try and do it all yourself?
Absolutely right. Yeah. And to be fair, I've had a good relationship in the past with lots of different people that I've written for, because I take the time, you take the time to understand their voice and the way they talk. And then you take the time to research the target market that they're going for and to try and get into their heads. What are their problems? And that's the big thing, is finding out what are their pain points. Not the pain points of my client, if you like, but the pain points of the people that my clients are addressing, what are their pain points. And normally I've come back to them and I've written stuff and I've said, yeah, I've written it this way because I've done research and this is the problems I have. And they say, oh, that's great, brilliant. But and so this guy today, when he came back to me, because yesterday he was, oh, no, I want it written. I want this. It didn't sit with me. That analogy didn't sit with me. And yeah, it wasn't quite. And you say, right, okay, let's have a chat about this because I don't understand your thinking. And then we had a chat last night about it. And then we had a chat again this morning. And it was this morning he said, no, I think you're right, actually. I've got to, yeah, I have got to think about it. I said, there's nothing, and this is the point, there's nothing wrong with the way you think. Absolutely. And that's got to come across. But remember that this is the thing they want to read. So we have to blend the two, not just be just your way or just my way, because my way wasn't necessarily the right thing either. But it's a blending of those ideas. And so I've been quite fortunate with a lot of people is that the stuff I've written has hardly ever needed to be edited. They've just said, yeah, great, that's fine.
I mean, there's so many lessons within that, that you just said there. I think with delegating, I think that the trap that people fall into sometimes is that they delegate stuff just to get rid of it. It's like they've had enough of it so much that they're just like, I delegate that to whoever. And it's like they don't really care what that person comes up with. Right. It's just it's been delegated, it's done, task is done, it's not mine anymore. Someone else is fine, it's done. And then they do the flip side is that they delegate it, but they micromanage it. And you're just like, well, if you're delegating to someone who's an expert, get their expertise. It's like we again, like I think how many times in this episode have I referenced ever episodes we've done? Right, we've done so many. There's definitely been some gems over the time. But I know we did this on kind of like with kind of the micromanaging part. It's like if you are going to delegate something, have a knowledge of how it basically helps you, like what it's going to do for you. Like have that knowledge. You don't need to know how to do it. So like with a say SEO, search engine optimization, right? Have an idea of what it is and how it helps your business. You don't need to know how to do it, but you at least need to know that when you're outsourcing it, to someone, is that we're outsourcing SEO to you because we want X, Y, Z to happen here. We have this in place right now that isn't actually doing what we want to, but this is what we want it to do. Can you help with that? If they say yes, great. Okay. This is the kind of guidance we want to give you, from our expertise. This is how we're going to do it. If that all matches up, great. But if you just said, we're just going to outsource SEO because we don't know how to do it, well, you end up with all sorts then and stuff that doesn't work. Yeah. And if you try to outsource it and then you micromanage it, well, you don't know how to do it anyway. So why are you micromanaging it?
Yeah.
And it's like, and that may sound obvious saying that out loud, right? But we're all guilty of that. Even we're guilty of that. Sometimes, with outsourcing, it's like, should we do this way? It's like that whole thing. I can remember there being a thing with like a mechanic or something like that, and it had a price list. And it's like, if something doesn't work and you come to us, is this amount. If something doesn't work, and you come to us telling us what it is, it's that amount. If something doesn't work, you come to us and you tell us that you've had a go and everything like that, and you still can't get it working, and it's more. And if your mate's had a go at it already, then it's all right. Yeah. And the whole kind of point there is like, well, look, we're the experts. If you're coming to us,
exactly,
let us deal with it. Don't try to tell us how to do our job. And it's like there needs to be that line is like you can't just delegate something just for the sake of it, just to go get rid of it. I want that done. You have to be able to oversee it or have that knowledge or have someone on your side that knows, what's going on. And then obviously the other side is, look, if you're going to delegate it, then actually delegate it. Don't just delegate a part of it, which is what this guy kind of did to begin with, right? Is that, okay, I want you to write this for me. Okay, it's not like that. I want it wrote like this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, well, listen, I'm the expert here. The reason I've done it like this is X, Y, Z, and this is the goal that you wanted. This is the stuff we've already been through. Is that right? Yeah, okay, actually, that is right. Let's continue with it.
And I think that's absolutely right. And it is this whole thing about letting it go is understand what you want, maybe, and understand what you want, and understand once you have the outcome and that person is aware of the outcome, just let it go. Just say, look, it doesn't matter how you do it. We found this with various things in the pandemic. Working from home was the classic, wasn't it? Where I want you to be working between 9 to 5. He's working from home, for example. I want you to be working between the hours of 9 and 5 or 6:30 or whatever, because I want this done in that time. And you say, but if that person is a night bird and they have only come into work and they hate coming into work because actually they really love working, getting into it about 10:30 at night, 11 at night, and they love working through the night because they find that's the time when it's quiet and they can really get on with it. And they finish up at 5 in the morning. Why is that a problem? Unless it's a service based, unless it's a business where you've got to be on the phones or something. But so much so when in the pandemic, people wanted, as soon as it was available, they wanted people to come back into the office, back to 9 to 5, and they got quite surprised when so many people said, "No, don't want to do that now. We're used to working at our pace at our time." They still got the job done, but it didn't. It doesn't matter. The whole point is let it go. It doesn't matter how it gets done. If it produces the outcomes you want, everyone's happy. Win-win, isn't it?
It is one up for debate, isn't it? That whole kind of work from home, work from the office thing. Like it's something where like, everyone will kind of say, oh yeah, working from home, people don't get as much done and stuff like that. And it's like, do they get the job done though? Do they get the same job done as what they do in the office, right? Because if you take the office, how much time is wasted just from chatting?
Oh yeah,
making the coffee and stuff like that takes double the amount of time and stuff like that. Is it just that there's a few productive hours in the day that people get stuff done, and it just seems like more gets done because you're seeing them do it? I mean,
exactly.
It's up for debate, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm fortunate enough that we just you're in your room, I'm in my room, and this is how we do most of our business, right?
Yeah,
it's just like nothing else kind of changes, but like doing that kind of thing where. I mean, like today, recording this podcast, you're like, should we do it in the afternoon? It's like, let's move it to the morning because it's a bit hot, it might get a bit too stuffy in the rooms and stuff like that. So, let's just move it. It's having that luxury to move what fits right, within it. So it's like sometimes it doesn't have to be put into, a certain box. So they come back to the whole thing about kind of delegating. It's like, well, does it have to be done this way? If you did it, this was first, that was second, and that was third. Is that right? Is that wrong? It doesn't matter. I can remember actually that weird story. I don't know why I remembered it, so it just stuck with me. But I was about to say 13 or something like that, and I switched barbers, right? So we had kind of moved, and I was traveling back to the old barbers all the time and stuff like that. So I went to new barbers just to test them out, and they started cutting the hair on top first, where the old barber cut the hair on the side. And I can remember we started cutting it and I was like, oh, I want this bit shorter. And he's like, yeah, I'll get to that in a minute, And I'm like, don't you do that first? And he's like, no, I do it second. I'm like, well, the other barber did it first. And he's like, we've all got our different ways of doing things. Like, and it's like that. I mean, he probably gave me a dodgy haircut at the time, right? Because he's probably like, this kid kind of thing. But it was that thing of like, look, I still ended up with my hair cut right.
Yeah.
It didn't matter how it got to it. And I think sometimes sometimes people just want it to be done within a process. And again, look, coming back to the whole kind of McDonald's thing and stuff like that, is like, okay, yeah, it has to go through a process. But if you're delegating it and someone already has their McDonald's process, well, let them do it their way because they want the time to get it right for them and how it works and stuff like that. It doesn't have to fit within yours. It's like I see this a lot of times where you'll get like a business that they want a new website, right? And they go to a company and they say, I want a new website. So they say, oh, your website at the minute is on this kind of software. Oh, that's rubbish. That is, you need to move over to this. And usually it's not a case of that it's rubbish. It's that they don't know how to use it. So it's like, they say, come over here. And it's like, well, if you want this company to do your website, move with them to their stuff because they're going to be able to do it so much quicker, handle it so much better and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be done within your way. Right, but if you do want it done in your way, then outsource it to someone who can deal with your stuff. It's again having that knowledge and taking that time to kind of do it, where it's not just delegate it to get it done or delegate it my way. I want it done this way. It's like if you don't look at it from outside the box, sometimes delegating it can be just as bad as trying to do it all yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think there's one thing which I'll pick up there as well. and about the question, what tasks do you delegate, which goes into question 4, where do you need help in your business? When you delegate stuff, if you're in a company and you got your staff and you delegate stuff to your staff, but there's a very good chance that your staff's going to come back and say, there's a different way of doing this and I reckon it's better. And they can come back to you with fresh ideas and new ideas, and all of a sudden you think, wow, yeah, we could do it this way, and that might lead to another product or might lead to different things as well. So sometimes when you delegate to staff or even to outside, and people can come back and give you different ideas of doing the same thing or doing it more efficiently. And again, this comes into number 4. Where do you need help in your business? Sometimes you need help in your business. You need other people to look at your business for you. And it could be your staff. There's nothing. Your staff have been working in your business for a while. They're going to know how you operate, how the company operates. Ask them. Often they, ask, what are there things, simple question. Where do you think there are things that can be improved and how can we improve them? Ask your staff. And that is a great place where you can start getting help in business. Ask us or ask the person you're delegating, but get help in your business. Doesn't mean to say that you've got to be going outside. But the whole point about that getting help is be honest with be honest. Every business can be improved in some way. Every business. It doesn't matter how long it's been running, all the rest of it. And it's only with fresh thinking and not your thinking often. And that's the same for us, probably. It's not our thinking necessarily that can improve our business, because we've always done, we've done things in a certain way. And unless we sit down and really take the time to think outside the box, or as we do an awful lot of reading, and there's the whole thing that leaders are readers. And the reason that phrase is because by reading something, you are getting different perspectives on your business. So it's almost like consulting with other people. But everybody needs help in business at some point. So it's being honest with yourself. And again, this is where it's not very sexy, because it's looking at where you think you have a weakness in business. Either you or your business has a weakness. So it's where do you need help in your business? And then I guess part of that is, and who can help? But even you might have a PA, for example, or a VA, and you might have your VA for working, say, I don't know, 3 hours a week or something, 4 hours a week. And do you think, I'm doing all right now, I'm delegating to a VA, and my business is fine now. And your VA comes back to you, why do you do this? Why do you do this? Why do you do this step? Why do you do this? Why do you reply to emails this way? Why do you do that? And well, I've always done it that way. So, well, it's a big improvement, because I could help you, show you how you can do business in a different way. And then the straight way, a lot of people might think, yeah, but you're just a VA or a PA. The VA probably knows more about business in a lot of cases than you do, because they work for so many other businesses. So they're picking up ideas all the time. So it's understanding the value of those people you delegate to, those people who may be able to help you, those people who, like you said, the experts, the SEO expert who says, yeah, I can help you with that. So, and I've dealt with so many other businesses. Some is similar in the industry you're in. This is how we can do things. And so that looking for help in your business is everywhere, not just thinking, right, I need to find a mentor about my business, for example. You don't necessarily need that, because everyone has a value and has a set of thinking that can help people understand how they can look at different perspectives of how they do business. But I would say, that question, where do you need help in your business? We very rarely get the answer, I don't need any help. I think I've never come across that. And if I did get the answer, I don't need any help, I'd be really wary of working with them, or even trying to work with them, because I think, okay, you do, but you don't see it. And they haven't taken that kind of audit of themselves or their business, or both, to say, yes, this is where I need help.
And again, I think sometimes, that kind of answer, the initial answer comes from pride.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I need to work. I need to make out as I'm doing better than what I do. I can remember like, years back, I was talking with a guy in a networking event, and he's like, "What do you do then?" And I said, "Oh, I deal with marketing, this and that kind of stuff." He's like, "Oh, I don't need any of that because all my business comes from referrals." And it's like I come over that 2 years later, like talking to the same guy, and he's been struggling for years. And it's like, well, why even come up with that phrase back then that you didn't need to even say that? You could easily turn around and say, "Yeah, do you know what? I get most of my work from referrals. I've never looked at marketing. Like maybe we should have a chat sometime." Like it's a different answer to it, but instead it was hit with like a barrier straight away. Oh, I don't need that. Like I do well, and it's like, but you don't. So why lie about it? It's like that kind of pride thing. I think a lot of people do have that, but it's like you said, when we actually break it down, and again, look, if you go through the kind of scope process, we've already broken it down to get to this stage. So it doesn't matter about how your kind of pride comes into it. It's only if you just go straight into this. But it's like that part there of just going, you obviously want to improve the business. So why would you not be looking at all kind of angles? And that thing, like you said also there, is that I think a lot of people do kind of look at it as like, oh, well, they're my staff, they're under me. Right. So it's like they couldn't be thinking that sort of way, they couldn't, give me the right direction and stuff like that. I need to look at someone higher or something like that to help me. But the people on the front line, people actually dealing with the day to day, they spot the bottlenecks.
Oh, isn't that so true? Yeah.
And all you want is them to give you the bottlenecks so you can go, okay, like, how do we improve this? So it's just okay if Sally and John are both experiencing the same bottleneck and they've told me separately about it, then this is a bottleneck, right?
It's
going to make everything better.
Yeah.
It's like if you just got, if you've got say several employees all doing the same thing and one's having a bit of a moan, then maybe that one's just a moaner. Right. But if you're getting 3 or 4 and come back saying, yeah, do you know what? There is a bit of an issue. Then okay, but how can we improve it? How can we make it that? And it's like that there, you said about that kind of thinking, like that kind of reading and thinking and stuff like that. And we've been speaking about the whole kind of master key system. And I was listening to that where it was like, we spoke before about kind of Napoleon Hill would Think and Grow Rich, and the mastermind being, you say something, I say something, we create that mastermind. Well, the same thing happens like in that kind of master key system is saying that the same thing happens when you are given kind of thought-provoking questions, or you read something that it gives you a new perspective. You create that own mastermind within yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like you are actually, you're reading something that gives you an idea of something. You're actually filtering that through then of going, how can that actually work? So you and your mind are having that conversation. To work out the best answer for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was just gonna say like that's where like obviously look, you can do that yourself, and then you can look to validate it. Then like you said, the likes of us and stuff like that. That's how we work with people. It's like a lot of it is, look, this is what I'm thinking. I want your perspective on that. Is it going to work? Okay, yeah, this could be the challenge here if we did that. But actually, if we changed it and we actually put this in place, well, it's going to speed it up 3 times, isn't it? And it's like that. There, it's like the answer maybe wouldn't have actually came without that perspective first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's why reading is. I mean, this that little phrase, isn't it? Leaders are readers. I've heard that so many times, and you think, yeah, okay. But it's absolutely true. I mean, you look at the people who are considered to be sort of the top of their tree, or the already up there. And they're reading hundreds of books. I mean, we read. I don't say I read hundreds because my reading rate is pretty slow, and I'm not a great listener to books. But I'm definitely reading a book a month, if not 2, and it's just because, and not some fiction, some non-fiction. But the whole point is that you can understand. You just get a different perspective on something. If you're reading books that will question you and make you just, you start reading a passage of text and you think, I wonder if I could benefit from doing that. And then it makes you think, you put the book down, and you have a think about it. And then, like we do, is then straight onto WhatsApp. What do you think about this idea? So then the whole thing about the reading is you've read something and that's led into a further discussion. And now it's not only the book that's involved, but it's us two then talking about different things, and that's a great way of really looking for where you need help in your business. Um, and because you get, if you're two directors, right? I want This is a great book. Have a read of it. I want to have a discussion about it because I think there's ways we can improve the business. Or you can do it with yourself, like you said. You say, right, someone maybe recommend the book. You read the book and think, right, okay, and take notes as you go along, whatever, and then think, right, how can I adopt these practices, or can I change whatever I'm doing? And then once you start thinking, as you said, that prompt has given you an extra thought, so that mastermind comes out in you as well. So that's why that glib phrase "leaders are readers" comes about, because it is through reading that we get different ideas.
Get ideas, and then we want to take them forward. That's the thing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
I did have a little laugh to myself. You're saying about your kind of reading time. You don't get to read as much. It's because I'm always on WhatsApp to you saying, "What about this? What about that?" But it is quite interesting. I mean, even with us, right? So we're talking about scope right now. Scope, if you think about it, I mean, a good kind of 3 years ago, we were kind of looking at scope and stuff like that, and I had a different part of the framework, right? Because when we actually looked into it, we went deeper and deeper over the years and stuff like that. It was always capped because it was always okay. Look, maybe this is for like a sole trader, maybe this is for that. And then we're looking at other stuff, and it's like, well, this wouldn't be applicable for someone who's starting out. So we, over the time, we've developed it into a framework that works no matter where it is. No matter what business you're in, no matter what size, no matter what you're trying to achieve, there are these levels to go through, and it just repeats and stuff like that, which I'm sure we'll go into in some of the weeks where kind of looking at that kind of effectiveness and measuring and stuff like that. But I think, mate, the last part then before we wrap up, we'll go over this in a bit of a higher kind of view. We'll come onto it in another episode. But looking at the structure of your business.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of with that? I mean, which kind of angle would you look at first on structure?
Well, I always tell people, even if people are starting out, you get somebody, and I've coached, as you have, coached all sorts of people from real startup. I started my business last week, for example. To we've been involved, haven't we, with big, multi-million
Tens of millions.
Yeah. So I always tell people, look, big businesses have a structure that they understand who has particular positions in that structure. They have maybe a CEO and a board of directors and managers and various staff. And I know that's quite a hierarchical structure, and some people don't do it that way. But I urge people to think about your business structure even when they start. So just imagine that you had a big business. Who would be where? What positions would you have? So the CEO is the person up there. What would you have? Maybe you have an operational director, maybe a finance director. Okay. And what teams would they have? And also you've got to structure business and say, right, okay, now I appreciate that you started last week, so you're doing all this. There's no one else to do it yet. But the point is, once you have that structure down, you think you can start to look at your own weaknesses. What am I no good at? Well, I'm not really a numbers man or numbers woman. I'm not really good on finances. Okay. So when you get the chance, what is the first thing when you get the income, when you get the cash flow, that you can maybe delegate or get help with? Maybe it's getting an accountant, or maybe it's getting someone like a coach, consultant, coach, whatever, or a bookkeeper, someone who can help you A, with the finances, not just recording it, but B, help you from interpret your figures in a way you go forward. But maybe you love finances. Maybe that's your thing. So then it's okay. Well, I'm rubbish at selling. I'm absolutely rubbish at marketing and selling. Right. Okay. At the moment, you're going to have to learn, read. Leaders are readers. Read and learn until you get to the stage where you think, right, I know what I want, but I'm not comfortable doing it myself. I need someone in there, maybe a kind of a sales manager, sales marketing manager type thing, who is going to start taking some of that load off me, because I know that's not my strength. And I've tried, but it's not really where I am. So once you have that structure in place, you can start plugging things in when you have the cash flow. But you also can help you determine where where your strengths are, because you might be brilliant as a finance and numbers person, or you might be a brilliant marketing or salesman, and the back end may get left behind a little bit. But you can see where your strengths are. And I always tell people often not to try and be a master of everything. So if you're not a great bookkeeper, okay, learn as much as you need to learn on the job, but really work on your strengths. Get as get your strengths to be even better. So if you think I'm quite good at I love marketing, I'm good at marketing. Okay, but you could still improve on that. So how can you improve? How can you read more about become even stronger in marketing? And a lot of people say work on your weaknesses. You know, you've got to build out your weaknesses. In some cases, you never will, because you never have the motivation or the design. You know, why would you want to learn how to become a great accountant in your business if your natural thing is to sell? You wouldn't. You just think, oh, I can't do with that. So it doesn't matter how much you try, it'll never work. But you know you've got to do some of it to the point of knowing that when you get the chance, you need someone else to help you with that. Um, and and um, and I think that so working on your strengths and just getting them even to a real pitch where you can improve your sales conversion rates, you can improve this and you can improve that. It's I think that's far more of benefit to somebody than trying to work on their weaknesses and become a brilliant numbers man or whatever, if that is never where they really have a desire. I know an awful lot of I know an awful lot of VAs who specialize. They specialize in numbers because they know that most of the people they work for um, just don't get a grasp of numbers, and they've been in that kind of environment. They might have been in some kind of office work before where they dealt with that, and many of them know enough for business owners to say, right, I can do your bookkeeping for you, I can do this for you, and I can come back to you and tell you very, very simply what needs improving or what the numbers say. And so this is the thing. I think is when you understand that business structure and you can start getting people in place, you can you can talk to people about what other people's strengths are. And if you think it's something like a VA, you need someone to organize you. Well, if you're going to use them, what other strengths do they have that's going to be a benefit to you? Where else can they plug gaps in that business structure? Because maybe they can fill 2 or 3 roles in your business structure. But unless you've got a business structure, you have no idea. And that's the problem with many small business owners I see, that they've never really thought about them.
And I think that's the problem also. Like with if you take someone starting up, I mean, you've explained this great in a podcast before that you said about wearing different hats.
Yeah,
that, you have to put different hats on to do different kind of different roles and stuff like that. And in the beginning, when you're on your own, whether you're outsourced to a couple of people, maybe you even have a couple of staff or something like that, you're usually wearing a lot of hats. It's knowing which job they're going into each of those hats. That when you actually then build it up where you can start to delegate, move it around and stuff like that, you know who's going in where to do what. But the great thing there that I like is because even that issue there is that as you kind of grow, you still find that. I was going to say, like, if you take a major kind of business, I don't know why I keep coming back to McDonald's, right? If you come back to McDonald's, that structure is like probably spot on, right? They know exactly what's going on within that structure. But even a lot of the businesses that we've dealt with, and we're talking ones with hundreds of thousands, millions, structure isn't always great. And one of the things that you kind of look at is going, right, okay, well, look, who deals with this? Who deals with that? Oh, I deal with that. Why? I just always have, or, we haven't got anyone to do that and stuff. And it's like, well, could you improve it if you got someone else in? And the answer is usually yes. And it's like knowing when to bring someone else in to do that. But the question that I always like to ask is going, right, okay, if you could bring someone in tomorrow to do one thing, what would it be?
Yeah.
And then they would be, oh yeah, it's numbers, it's sales, and it could be the operational side, it could be the actual doing of something, it could be the fulfillment, the customer, so whatever it is. And it's like, right, okay, well, look, if that's the thing, then look, let's get that person in. How do we get that person in?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we need to make more money and stuff like that. It's like, do we? Let's have a look at it. And actually looking for it. But that structure there is like going, okay, look, do you know who does what?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's just like, you don't know when one job ends and it goes to somebody else. And that's when we get into the whole kind of process optimization, is we look at everything from, that marketing lead generation part to the sales, to the actual fulfillment, to the after sales.
yeah,
And it's like whose job is what at what point. And then, the reason we look at structure is because also as the business grows, there's a lot of stuff behind, in a business that needs to happen that you don't see from the front, that the customers don't see, the marketing that doesn't see. It's the operation side. And you
mm,
need to know from the operation side who's doing what and where you need that help to be able to do
yeah,
so. Like you
yeah,
said,
definitely.
it's not always a case of you need to bring staff in and stuff like that. It may just need to be that you get some guidance on it. So if you take someone starting out, and someone starting out wouldn't need, a HR manager, right? But
No,
when taking on staff, they probably would need to speak to someone in HR to make sure that they get the next steps right. And
yeah, yeah,
they probably wouldn't need to speak to someone again then until they move to the
exactly.
next stage and
Yeah.
get a few more people in.
And that's the difference, isn't it? Once that you have the business structure, and you say, right, okay, HR may be part of the structure. You say, right, okay, one day I may need an HR manager, but like you said, just for the moment, I just need someone I can phone and say, right, I'm going to take someone on. I need to kind of understand how to do it, I guess, that kind of thing. So an HR contact, just that's simple. So you you create your business network and say, right, I need an HR contact. So when you go networking and whatever, you think, that's some person, they're an HR, outsource HR or whatever. I need to have a chat with them and see what they're like and how they work, and whether I could use them in my business. Yeah, on a temporary basis.
And when we look at like the kind of structure of the business, the reason we look at this, we kind of go, right, okay, what is the structure of the business now? So who's actually involved and stuff like that? Because where you are right now, look, you're obviously looking to grow, you're looking to scale through a phase to get to the next part. Well, where do you want that next structure to be? Because
Mm.
it depends on the type of business, because you may be operations at the minute, and your next structure is that you're above as an operations manager. So we're always looking at that growth or going, okay, the next kind of growth phase, the next scale phase, what structure do we want to go into?
Yeah,
And building up to get into that. So it's important to know where you are right now and what
yeah,
you need right
definitely.
now
Yeah,
compared to what you're going to need moving
yeah,
forward, and knowing what that next kind of step is then to get people in. But Mark, that kind of covers up the operational effectiveness,
yeah.
with what we do within scope. Is there anything you want to add on that before we kind of
I,
summarize?
I think it's just no. I just think that all those questions tied together. They all tied together, and I don't know if there's one question better than the others, because we looked at this for a long, long time. But I would like. I mean, we finished on business structure, and I think that's a good place to end up. Is that once you know what you need, where you are, and this is the whole point, isn't it? Once you know what you need where you are now, you can start to put it into place. But it's knowing what you will also need in the future, where you want your business to go. But creating that structure is you can be doing that, and that can almost not guide you, but you can use that as a guide to, right, I need, once I get to this level, this is what I need to start putting into place.
And that's what we're always talking about. Is always that kind of, that momentum, isn't it? It's that compound
Yeah,
effect.
yeah,
What
yeah,
we do. I mean, look, this here is what we do within Momentum Builder. The whole reason we
yeah,
call it Momentum Builder is we're building momentum through a growth phase, through a cycle phase, to get to the next growth phase, to get to the next cycle phase. That whole point is in line then with your strategic plan, what you want to achieve. So if you're looking at now your business and going, I want to move this forward, I'm sick of being where I am, or I know I'm ready for the next phase, get in touch with us at Strategy and Conversions, because we'd love to have that conversation with you. And
yeah,
if it isn't right for us to help you, we'll point you in the right direction, to kind of move your business forward. So
yeah,
yeah, I would say, mate, that probably sums everything up from our sort of side. I
yeah,
think operational effectiveness is unsexy, but it's probably the most important part to get right. And
definitely.
yeah, look, if you want to know more about Scope, then obviously check out the podcast, because we're going to be doing some more on that. And anything that you want to know, get in touch and we'll catch up with you then.
Yeah, please do. Yeah,
Smart, it's always been a pleasure. We'll catch you next time.
indeed. Okay. Thanks everyone for listening.
See you then.